Alrighty, I can't tell you how many takes I've actually done on this one. We kept having some background noise. So anyway, we've got it set. We're all ready to go. We're gonna do our what do you call it? Our aileron push rods right now. And I've already done one of them for you, well, half of one, on one of the last videos. I'll probably still upload it anyway. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the exact same thing with this one. The only difference is, actually no, with this one I won't have any difference, because what it's going to be, what I'm going to end up doing is, instead of actually heat shrinking the actual heat shrink, I'm just going to slide the heat shrink over it, and while there's still some wet glue on it, so we won't need to get in there with any heat and melt your foam. So now, what we're going to do, we're going to keep this one in here, and if you have any tension on your aileron rod like I do right here, what you're going to want to do is, I forgot to do this earlier, what you're going to want to do is just bend it a bit. Just make sure you have it at that angle so that way it's not fighting to get to the servo. So just pop it through. There we go, that's much better. That makes it much easier. We've got plenty of rotation there. So let's get started on this one. You're going to need your wire. It comes with your kit. Same thing as the last one, you're just going to make a little 90-degree angle right at the tip here, about the width of the pliers, and another little 90 right there. So it should look like this. You can see that. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to clip it to about 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches left over here. Well, that's about 1 inch actually, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to put mine on the inner hole just because it's a little bit easier on the servo, and I still get plenty of throw. So before we glue this, you're going to need another piece of heat shrink. I almost always forget to do this, and then I have to go and break off the old glue. You're going to need another piece of heat shrink about 1 inch long. Just cut a little slice of it really quick. Slide it over the rod. That'll be my alarm clock. So now you're going to, what you want to do is you just want you just want to put a light tack on it right now, just so that it stays there. I hate when I have to do this. I have to reach over with my other hand, grab the kicker. Make sure your kicker's in a good spot before you glue it, so you can get to it easier. Now you're just going to put another, now you're going to actually lay it on there heavy, make it kind of thick there, just to the point where it doesn't drip. So now we've got that on there. Let's just slide it over, see how well it fits. We could put a little bit more glue on there to make it tighter. That feels much better. Now you can actually slide it on, and it's a little thick too. Make sure this is all loose in here and you don't have that changed. So now, let's go ahead and put some wet glue on there. Because you still have some old kicker on there, make it kind of quick. Just bring it on there and slide it forward. Got the old glue there and put it on the wax paper. Just kicker that sucker. Now if you want to, if you really feel like you need to go in there and tighten that heat shrink, what you want to do is do this while the top fuselage isn't on there. So let's just take our lighter and do it at an angle here. There we go. There we go, that's good. Yeah, you gotta be careful, that kicker's flammable. So is the heat shrink, but it's black, so you won't notice anything. Let's go over to the other side. Take the same rod we had from last time, and we're going to cut it to length. Oh, I lied. I already have one cut, and it is right here. Whew. I hate cutting into the carbon. It's fine just the way it is. So now, let's make another Z-bend with the wire that we have. Cut a little 90 there, or bend a little 90. You're going to bend another little 90 over here. Might actually be less than 90 because of the angle we're at on this one. Now, for the first one, you don't really need to have it in the horn. That's only when you do it over here. So right now, you can just tack it while it's in your hand, and you want it to be kind of far enough away from the edge there so it doesn't bind up. I'm gonna tack it really quick. That's it for a second. Grab the glue again. Lay it on there kind of thick. If you can see that. Sorry if I keep going out of the area there. I'll bring this over here so you can see what I'm doing. So now let's grab our heat shrink again, and let's cut another little slice, about an inch long. Slide that on there. Let's see how tight it is. That's perfect. So let's put some. Actually, it's a little too tight, so I'm gonna sand it down just a bit. There, that's better. Okay, so let's put a little bit of wet glue on, and then slide it on top of that. Hope I can get any glue out of this bottle. Now that we've got that on there, just gonna put a little drop on top and slide over the wet glue. Get rid of that extra drop. And now, because it's not on the plane yet and it's still in your hands, you can probably just heat it up a little bit. Note that the kicker is very flammable, so make sure you've got enough of it off. There we go. So we've got that one done. Now, let's put this one on this side. When you do this, the second you put this in here, because I always tend to forget, what I want to do now that I have that on there, we're going to cut another slice of heat shrink and do it right away so we don't forget. Slide it on over the rod. Can't tell you how many times I've forgotten to do this step. Let me just check the camera really quick, see where we're at. There we go. Sorry about that, I kept forgetting I have it over my hands. So yeah, I just put it back in the horn, and I slid the heat shrink over. So now we're going to get started on this Z-bend over here. So let's make another Z-bend. I'll have plenty left over on my wire here, even though I made a little bit of a goof up on the wheels. Let's cut that to about 1.5 inches. I'm going to put it on the inside hole just for more torque. The closer you go into the servo, the more torque you have. The further out, the more throw you get. Over here, it's the exact opposite. The further up you go, the more torque you have. The closer down you go, the more throw you have. So pay attention to that. So I prefer to get more torque on the servo, so I bring it in a little bit closer, especially because I have a big horn on here, so I don't need all that crazy throw. I get 90 anyways. I love 90 so much. So much. There we go. Let's go back in there. Now that we put a little dab on there, we're going to lay it on there fat. I'm going to kind of even that out a bit. Don't do that at home. Kids don't try that at home. Yeah, that should be fine. Let's check it really quick. It could be a little tighter. Let's put a little bit more on there. Make sure that's tight enough. Or let's make sure that's hard. Now let's see how tight this is now. Oh well. Okay, well, the glue is still a bit wet, so that's actually fine the way it is. That went on a little bit quicker than I had wanted to, but it's not a big deal if that happens. Let's grab our lighter, just because it's a little loose. And always angle the foam this way so he goes up, not towards the foam. That's plenty. So now, that part is done. So now let's check our throws. This part always makes me happy. Let's try this. Whoops. Take a step by hand. So now, dang it. Let's check our throws. Yes. That is what I like right there. Although I can never figure out how to get, oh, never mind. I can never figure out how to get 90 on both sides. Like right now I've got a little bit less here, and I've got more like 80 over here. In flight, or right now on a stop position, I've got about 90, but in flight it's more like 80, 85 because of blowback, the blowback factor. And once you go to 90, you have no torque right now. So if you can see this, 90 doesn't always mean great responsiveness. So 90 just means it's especially when we do variable pitch props, stuff like that, they blow back to 90 at this point right here. So as long as the plane is capable of doing 90, I'm not going to worry about it. So now let's get started on the top fuselage. I just slid that on there for the heck of it. So now, put our top fuse on. I'm going to have to cut a little bit of this away because of that external horn. So I'm just going to cut a little bit of a rectangle here, or a little notch out of it. The trick is to take the least amount of foam you can out of there, because you want it to be strong. Nothing broke. That's perfect. Look at that. We've got a nice solid fit on there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fit all the tabs into their holes at this point. You can see that. I'm going to go one tab at a time. Unless you're pro and you can do 10 at a time, then by all means go ahead. That's just the sound of the tab going into the holes there. There we go. And that should be flush. Absolutely perfect there. Alright, so let's make sure everything else is solid in there. Alright, that's good to go. Let's do this first. I'm going to sit down real quick to make this easier on myself. Let me just make sure the camera's aimed at a good spot. This is where we want to be, right here. So this is where I'm going to be working. What you want to do is make sure that these all stay in their holes. Well, it looks like they actually came out, so I don't know. It's kind of an awkward position, but it's not too big of a deal. Just as long as you get a good amount done at a time, and make sure it hardens before you start working on the other holes. So you want to go all the way up to there. Don't put anything in this little notch there. If you have a yak, that notch there is for your motor, because sometimes your motors will have an external shaft on the rear side. So I've already made that notch for you. Let's dang kicker bottle. Let's get on both sides. Now here comes the fun part. This is where your trash comes into play. What you want to do is grab that trash that you made from your beveling. They should look something like these. No, that's not trash. That's not trash from the beveling. I don't know what I did with them. I seem to have lost them. But oh, here we go. Here's a few. I accidentally threw them away. Well, here's one, but that one's a little big. Let me grab another one. Here we go. This will work. So here's your trash from the beveling. What you want to do is you're just going to put a little bit of glue in there and just fit that 90-degree corner right alongside that ridge. But if you have a motor mount, or if you're using a motor mount with something like, or with one of these kind of motors where they have the actual tab, so you got to screw it in, you're going to want to leave leave a little bit of a space there when you put your gussets in there. Make sure you've got all that extra kicker out of there, because you want to do this quick and clean. Let's come to size first, so that way we know what happens. We know how far we're going. So just kind of leave it like that, get an idea for where it needs to go. Put a little bit of glue in there, and slide it in there. now, do you want to do one on the other side too, just to make sure it's nice and sturdy. Let's go alongside like that. And same thing on the other side, exactly the way you did it last time. I've got a little bit sticking out on the front, but I'm not worried about it. I'm going to clip it. So I'll be using a motor mount too, just so you can see how it's done. I like to use the Hacker 810 9L for power plant most of the time, but I'm really liking the way these work, and I have a few of them laying around, so that's what I'm going to throw in there for now. Let's go, let's do the rest of these tabs first before we get on with our motor mount. So let's take this forward a bit. You're going to lift this one up without tearing up the others. If you can, pour a little bit of glue there inside that hole. Pour it all the way down that center line. Put that one back in its hole. Put this one back in its hole, and then make sure it's really tight in there, so that way you've got a good amount of glue pressure there. Now, something I just accidentally did is I put a little bit of glue where that servo is going to be, so let's make that flat. Push on that real quick, make sure it stays. There we go. I actually didn't like the way that one looked, so I'm just going to kick it out again real quick and keep it going. There we go. So now let's go on with the tail for the rest of these. So let's just move that one aside. And I'm feeling bold enough to go all the way down in one shot. One straight shot here. Now comes the fun part. Quick. Alarm will not shut up. There we go. Perfect. So now, here comes the last part before we can do our rudder. And the rudder is where it finally starts looking like a plane. You just want to put a little bit of glue in here, where the bottom and the top views meet. Right in there. Wipe that off, just make sure it's fine. Use a piece of foam when you do that. I've already got a bunch of glue on my hands, so I'm not worried about it. There we go. That's solid. Now we can put on our rudder and then tape it up so that way it stays flat. So, whoa, plane almost rolled off. So let's put a little bit of hinge tape on our rudder at this point, and then we will start our next video. So you just want to make sure you go over that counterbalance, because you don't want that spot where your kickery hands are touching it, so you'll cut that end off. Our knife, our utility knife. Cut it flat. Perfect. Let's go over here and cut the same thing. Right before the counterbalance. You don't want it to go over that line. Make it flat. Perfect. Now we're ready to go, and on there, where it finally starts looking like a plane. Start off by matching this corner to that corner here, and then pulling it down. Just like that. up a bit. And we're good to go. It's a little bit tight up in here where the counterbalance meets the top of the rudder stab. So I'm just going to take my sanding block and smoothen that out of it. Make a little bit of room. Now it's just barely touching it. It's flush. Perfect. Alright, so now let's tape these suckers up and let's get on with the rest of the video. Wait, I'll show you how to tape these up really quick. You just want to cut a small little piece of tape. And if your plane has already been painted, if you just painted your plane and you don't want to put tape on the paint, take the tape and just sort of put it on your clothes a bit first, just so it's not as sticky. You just want it to stay centered right here. So now we've got a centered rudder. And we'll do the same thing with the elevator, because we're going to end up doing the pull next. Save. When you can tape it, just put over that counterbalance and keep it steady. Alright, we're good to go. Let's get started on the next video.